Hey, what's going on, guys? So today, I have something a little bit special and new for you guys. I won't be doing my normal stuff like a montage, plays, crypto, talking about predictions and stuff like that. None of that today. Today, I'm gonna have like a special, not really special, but like a new series basically. It's a series where I just basically find topics I want to talk about, and yeah, touch on them, give my own input, and we can see what other people think, and we can look. I'll look at the comments and see what other people also think about the topic. Obviously, we won't get controversial, too bad or anything. I'm just really giving my own input and thoughts as a person, and this can be about anything. It can be crypto, games, League of Legends, stuff like that, anything really, whatever topic that I feel like talking about. But today I'm going to be on my first topic. We'll be going to be talking about League of Legends, and this series will be called "Can We Talk About?" So, welcome to "Can We Talk About?" Today we'll be talking about the most problematic champions in the game for League of Legends. So, how this video came about? It's I watched Vars recently. I'm not sure if anyone knows about that, but Vars, he's quite a cool YouTuber in my opinion. Talks about League of Legends, and yeah, I've been watching that, and I've been playing a lot. And he made a video about ranking ADCs and failed reworks, and yeah, I was thinking about putting my thoughts into it as a player, as a long time player as well. So yeah, I wanted to try something new with this video, and I was missing for a bit, so I hope this is quite a good surprise for you guys. Anyways, let's get into the video. And actually, before I start, I just want to point out that I won't be talking about champions like Kalista, Azir, and Ryze, since Riot has definitely already addressed them a while ago. And yeah, there's no point covering that, it's redundant. So, um, yeah, let's start off with our first champion on the list. As an ADC main, and as an Ezreal main that is 900k mastery points currently, I will have to say that Ezreal is one of the most problematic champions in the game. Now, before you take up your pitchforks, burn down my house, kill my family, um, just hear me out, okay? I have a very good reason for it. And yes, I do know that Ezreal's stats are extremely balanced based on his skill ceiling and general win rate in lower elo. Yes, I know that's pretty balanced and it's below 50%. But after playing him for so many years, I think that is his design that really makes him fundamentally flawed and makes him a balancing nightmare for Riot. So if you guys remember back in when the Runes Reforged was a thing, Kleptomancy Ezreal was broken, double tier Ezreal was broken, and that really shines on how Ezreal is fundamentally broken because he's a very simple champion. He throws projectiles, he blinks, he throws a W, he throws a map wide global damage thing. It's very simple. It's not like a 100-page Aphelios passive or some random Devil May Cry ultimate passive. He's a very simple champion that does very simple things and does damage. That's about it. And this is the problem when it comes to Ezreal because he's not balanced around his kit. He's not balanced around his skills because it's just too simple. Riot Games wants to put in some flavor, some spice in the champion. So they made it so that they're balancing him around every factor besides his own kit and champion. So he's being balanced around his items, his runes, anything outside factors. So something like this would definitely become, you have an issue where Riot Games buffs Manamune by 180, Ezreal becomes broken. Riot Game nerfs Executioner by 1 damage, Ezreal dies. So that is a very big flaw, I personally think, when it comes to balancing. And I think a very good example of this is that champions these days, well, like at least the way that Riot is designing them, isn't really every champion is unique in a sense. They are not balanced around their own kits. They are balanced around the fact that their champion, their items, and the whole meta of game perspective. Because a very nice analogy I like to put is that every champion is like a house. There's families and people inside. But that's basically it. It's a housing for functions. So every champion does different functions, but they are generally just a housing. So like in programming terms, we call this a class. So like this class will do this and that class will do that. And that's how all champions feel like these days, even older champions. So yeah, a lot of this actually makes it item-based dependent balancing. Actually, I feel that it makes it very bad for champions' design philosophy and how they're balanced in general. And yeah, I think this concept really also applies to champions like Gangplank, Yasuo, Tryndamere, since if you're looking towards the 13.1b buffs, to Navari and IE, Riot might actually unintentionally break Yasuo and Gangplank and even Tryndamere. I'm not very sure, I don't play bruisers or fighters in this sense. And overall, I think this leads to the fundamental problem with champions and ADCs, because most of our damage actually comes out of auto-attacking, and there really isn't much of a way to buff a champion without breaking other champions if you're buffing items, and most balancings are item dependent. And yeah, that's the thing. That's why I say that champions are now becoming housing and stuff like that. And yeah, that'll be it for Ezreal actually. Um, so that's the first champion done. So next up, we actually have Yuumi, our favorite cat. I say that, but we all hate them, we know. Especially, okay, at least this script was made and before the 13.1b nerfs. So maybe Yuumi isn't a terrible champion. I hope, but I'm probably wrong at that. I saw the nerfs, and I think that she is going to be still fundamentally flawed until they rework her. So yeah, I think that's not surprised that most of the community hates Yuumi, because she just AFKs and just CCs and just does a lot of damage without being able to be killed, or there's no counterplay to it. I think this is very prevalent to pro play as well and high elo play. I think in a design sense, Yuumi is actually very similar to Kalista. Her concept of like attaching and latching to your carry, and they somewhat like using the Black Spear on your teammates, right? So it makes them very teammate reliant in a sense. They can't really balance Yuumi on her kit, they can't really balance Yuumi on her items, but you need to balance Yuumi off her teammates. It sounds really weird, but have you ever played a game of Yuumi where your ADC sucks? Yeah, you can't do much about it. Have you ever played a game where your ADC is so good and he's smurfing, and you also can't do much about it, right? So she is literally just fundamentally based around the champion that she's latched onto. And I think that's bad because, you are not really able to buff, nerf, or adjust anything about the champion when something's like that. And I think that's really unhealthy for the game. If you guys remember like launch Yuumi or like really early Yuumi, basically, Yuumi can hop onto any champion in the game, and well, she still can, but it was a lot more worse because she hops onto a Camille, Aatrox, or Aurelia, and they just never die for the rest of the game. And this is also why Yuumi is just so broken in high elo, because everyone in high elo and pro play are just so good at every champion and every role that there's just no reason to not be able to be balanced around your teammates and have a very too high, really good players, in a sense, if you get what I mean. And that's why it's also really bad in lower elo, because lower elos don't really know how to play around each other, and they don't really know how to coordinate. And that's why Yuumi is seen a bit weaker in lower elo, but much better and much stronger in pro play. Okay, next champion we have on the list is going to be actually, before the next champion, I also want to state that this is also something like Ezreal and Kalista, and Kai'Sa effect, where you actually have extremely low general win rates, but when you check Masters Plus on U.GG, OP.GG, whatever GG, you can see an insane win rate on Yuumi. Anyway, the third on the list is actually one of my personal favorite supports in the game, Nami. Now, this is also another very hot take, as per se. A lot of players might say that she's balanced and fine. Well, I can agree, yes, she is balanced in terms of kit, items, and everything on support role right now, even with the Lucian Nami thing, which I will be covering in a bit, on the being a thing still. I think that her balance is bad, because she's something like Yuumi, she's not really balanced around every champion in the game like Yuumi, but she's basically balanced around her synergies and how well a champion can use her E. So if we get a new champion that says, oh, I can abuse Nami's E, basically the champion and Nami is going to become broken, the most broken duo in the game. But if you cut down, let's just say we have Lucian Nami and you nerf the E, and Lucian can't really abuse E anymore, Nami becomes terrible. So you see what I mean by she's balanced around her synergies and duels, and in this particular case on 13.1 and 13.1b, she's balanced around Lucian. And yes, it's definitely just a meta thing. We've seen Ezreal Nami, Syndra Nami, and stuff like that. And Lucian did get nerfed this patch, but I think that for a long time that Nami has been a very broken champion because of her E. A very good example I can give is that Nami can heal me to full. It doesn't matter as long as Nami buffs my damage. Like Nami can heal me for 5 health, and she can just slam her E onto me, and I'll be happy with that, you know. But this thing with Nami, she's just very abusable. And the only other duo that I can think of that is as abusable as Lucian Nami is actually like Ezreal Nami. But it's not too bad because you can really just dodge Ezreal E's. Let's just ignore Ezreal Q's. Let's just ignore the fact that Ezreal has been playing a more crit build recently. I personally think that's terrible. I still really like my Mana Immune Trinity Force combo. But in that case, you're definitely not being able to dodge Lucian combo because that is all auto attacks and on hit. So you can't dodge that. So I still think that Nami it's bad balancing wise because you're balancing her around her E. And I think they should shift the power balance between her E into some of her other abilities to make her so that she's not so reliant on other teammates and she's able to, you know, do something on her own. I'm not saying make her Karma, I'm not saying make her Pike, but make it so that her E doesn't have so much impact on the ADC and his damage, and maybe you'll be able to get a more balanced champion. Now, I know I've been talking about only ADC and supports, because that's where I have the most experience in, but I'll be covering other roles now, because yeah, I mean, I'm an ADC main, right? This is a place for me to complain about some champions, not really complain, but giving my thoughts about the balance and the problematic things that they bring up. I really think that Ezreal one is true, because I really think that if you slightly buff or nerf anything that is related to Ezreal, he breaks or dies. And I really think that's really bad, and I think that's a really bad way of how League of Legends is heading towards too. Anyways, let's move on to champions again. Now let's cover a few champions in a row. Okay, I'm pretty sure like everyone should know who I'm gonna cover now. Because if it's not an ADC, it's definitely something I hate getting one-shotted to. So yeah, this wouldn't be an ADC video if it didn't include the 4 horsewomen of top lane, which is Camille, Aurelia, Riven, and one more. Okay, I forgot the last one, but and Yone. But the 4 women of top lane is really scary. I do not think that being able to use one ability for 1k true damage is legal. I do not think that Riven should be able to one-shot me in a very small distance with taking 0 damage. And I also do not think that Aurelia should be able to one-shot me with 1 Blade of the Ruined King when I'm 7 kills ahead, and she is a 1 and 5. And Yone is just a special case because he can be 0 and 10, presses R, and the whole team fights 1 because of him. Alright? But that's my complaining out of the way, so I'm just gonna put that out there first. And this list actually honestly includes every champion with an overloaded kit. That makes it so that they function despite being extremely behind, as long as you kind of know what you're doing in a sense. Like Aurelia, you kind of just know how to go around your Qs. You can be pretty behind, but you're going to still be useful with your Ironess to stance. You can be pretty good with your Yone as long as you press R. I don't think you really need to know much about that. Camille, you just know how to hook shot and stuff like that. And yeah, this may actually, a lot of you guys might actually think that, hey, this is akin to skill and mastery of the champion. But again, like I said, I honestly don't think a 1 and 5 Aurelia should be able to one-shot a fat ADC or a mage. Or by pressing R, somehow you're hunted down the whole fight, or 1000 true damage from 1 ability. I really don't think that's just healthy or good for any champion. And I'll talk a bit more after looking at the 13.1b patch and playing a bit of it later into the video after my last champion. But yeah, let's just talk about this first. Yeah, I think Riot generally has to tone down this insanely overloaded kits and try to find simpler ways to make champions fun and fulfill the power fantasy of those champions without giving them 300 pages of passive. For example, one of my favorite champions that I think that is extremely balanced, extremely well tuned, and it's not broken and has insanely high skilling is Lee Sin. He's extremely fun and a well-received champion, despite just being very simple, like just throwing Q, I go to Q, I shield teammate with W, I shield myself with W, stuff like that. And he has a lot of rooms for skill ceiling as well, because like we saw in season 3, we saw Insect and stuff like that got made, and you see the Chinese community being insanely good at Lee Sin. And just to add as well, that I think that Riot is actually forcing these insanely high skillings by making champions to make champion enjoyable and replayable for both high elo and low elo. Well, that's not a bad thing. I think that it's actually taking a very big hit on their design. Like we see champions like Zeri, Aphelios, Viego, all these champions that were released recently all has like a really insanely high skill ceiling. Maybe not Viego, but I know Aphelios and Zeri. I'm not sure about Viego. But this is because of the overloaded kits that they have. And I think this is not the right way to actually make a champion, or look at how to make a champion fun and have a high skill ceiling. I think the way to develop a champion and the community for the champion to make them skillful and fun is to make them simple and allow the community to find and implement new ways to put skill into the champion. Like I said, Lee Sin is the example I used earlier, and I think he's a perfect example of that. And not just that, I think that he's also a really good example at it. Other good examples of this would be like Nidalee, Elise. Those are like my top 3 most balanced champions in the game, I would say. Because I really think that they are really, really balanced, and they do have their own gameplay. It's fun and there's skill to it, but you need to be able to, put in the time and effort to learn how to play a champion. You put the time and effort to, develop and find new tactics and ways to like abuse your champion's ability. Maybe abuse is a bad word, but use it more efficiently. Okay, anyway, that's it for that part. I'll be moving on to my last champion of this video, which is going to be Aatrox, Boris, or whatever. I think that Aatrox, like a lot of people might say that this is a very bad take. I think Aatrox, yes, I know he won a World's Championship, but I think that Aatrox is conceptually broken. Now, just to add that I really love this champion. When he got released, I played a lot of Aatrox. I played about 100 games in the first week, or okay, maybe that's unrealistic, but 100 games in the first 2 weeks. And he was really fun with his Q states like Q1, Q2, Q3, and the E movements, and the Giga Chad reward art. We all love that. And I think that his balancing flaw is somewhat similar to Ezreal in a sense, but his reliance on items, like Ezreal, is not exactly reliance on items. For Aatrox, it's a bit worse, or well, much worse, because he's a victim of power creep. Back when things were simpler, lifesteal was kind of broken, and it was broken to the point where you kind of still need it at this point. And a lot of champions have it, and you need to understand the core concept of Aatrox's kit is around lifesteal and killing stuff. And when times got a lot more overloaded, like right now we have silence and stuff like that with insanely high healing, entire game started filling up with lifesteal and healing reduce, like Grievous Wounds. And this is a fundamental problem for Aatrox, because he's so reliant on healing that since everyone is building Grievous Wounds, his kit and his champion get severely injured because of it. If not, you'd be like, go back to like the old days where there weren't much lifesteal. Maybe Aatrox was the only lifesteal champion, or maybe Riven along with that, and Fiora, these 3 champions. Like, okay, sure, I can just play against 4 players and 1 Aatrox. I'm not going to buy healing reduct just for that 1 champion 90% of the time, because they're so low value. Unless my build already goes around that, or he's very fat, then okay, I'll buy the healing reduce. But it really takes up a slot, and you're paying tax for it basically. But now every game you're gonna see a champion with 200% lifesteal. You're forced to buy a Morello, Bramble, or Executioners, and this in general is going to severely cripple Aatrox's concept and kit. So while he's relying on items like Death Dance, Black Cleaver, Eclipse, and stuff like that, the more Riot progresses with its new champions and increasing power levels of items, I think the worse that Aatrox will become. Because sure, he may benefit from the new items and some power creep, but he will always be crippled by the fact that he will be always playing against healing reduce, and that part of his kit is gone. Okay, that was quite a long video. Here's a bit of a post-take talking about post 13.1b patch, because like I said, this was made below 13.1b. If you guys see clicks, that's because I'm looking at the League of Legends background for a bit. just to check on the champions. But I think that, okay, the buffs to crit, I've already severely talked about this, not maybe not on video, maybe not on social media, but to my friends, that I think it's a good thing for ADCs. It doesn't really make us ADC players broken or buff our power level. It's just making us spike faster. And I think that's really important because from my experience of playing a lot of games in this season so far, I either get to the point where I stomp everyone play game, or I can't even play the game to begin with. So this spike of IE second is much better by allowing players like ADC players to be able to play the game and spike earlier, come online earlier, so that they at least have the chance while not really affecting the total damage besides mid game, which I think is great. As for Bork, the buffs for Bork, I think it's really good actually. I think it buffs Twitch a lot. Okay, I think this is getting out of topic for problematic champions, but I did see them address a few things like increasing grievous wounds, decreasing healing from Ravenous Hydra, Omnivamps are gone from Eclipse and stuff like that. I think that's quite a good way of progressing through the game, on balancing the game. But I don't know. We really have to see as how the patch progresses, because currently for the ADC meta we see Sivir popping up, Jhin popping up, but I really don't think that a lot of champions will break Caitlyn. Caitlyn is just generally good, and Ezreal, but I think his crit build's bait anyways. That was a long video. Those are my thoughts and on some champions and items and patch notes and why they are a problem for a game. But I think the main thing we should all remember as players is that balance, or at least true balance, will never exist in League of Legends or any multiplayer games, in fact. Not Dota, not Smite, and stuff like that. They'll never exist. Because if there's true balance in a game, there wouldn't be a game to play. It'll be playing chess. And in that case, might as well just go play chess, right? But let me know what your thoughts on what you think I should cover in the next video. Personally, I was thinking about maybe my thoughts on the best designed ADCs in the game, like what Vars did. I think that's a pretty good topic, and it's pretty interesting as well. And let me also know your thoughts on what I've been talking and covered in this video. Anyways, that's about it for League of Legends and me for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video, and give me some spicy topics to talk about. Thank you.